Okay, everybody, today is Sunday, and here's the weather map for Sunday afternoon, or Sunday morning, I guess I should say. Congratulations, Michael, you finally got a snowstorm at the beginning of April. Not a huge snowfall total, but, you know, I'm sure you're happy, and I was honestly a little surprised to see it myself. So here's the weather map for today, and I put this in a Google form kind of similar to what I did last week, and I'm going to ask you to take a look at the weather map and write your own summary of what's happening on the weather map. So I'm not going to really talk about this much. That's sort of for you to figure out, but be aware it is posted or will be soon. But I wanted to show you a couple of other things related to the storm of today. So if we take a look at the weather graphs again, and again, here's a lot of detail, a lot of different things on here. And I think what we'll do is simplify it. We'll keep temperature, dew point. We'll probably take out wind chill, sky cover, precipitation potential. We'll leave relative humidity. We could take thunder out. And let's see how that looks. Okay. So there's a few things to take away from this. Again, we have the relationship between temperature and dew point. And we can see that when the dew point temperature and the air temperature are further away from each other, that indicates that the air is drier. And we can see that in the relative humidity over here. Here, the relative humidity is in 49, 47%. Over here, when the dew point and dew point and air temperature, are close together, here they're 27 and 27. Dew point temperature is equal to air temperature. Right at this point, at 7 a.m., it's predicted to be at saturation. When the air temperature and dew point temperature are the same, we've reached saturation, and we can see a relative humidity of 100%. And we see this pattern continue throughout the rest of the graph. Here, air temperature moves further apart. Remember, this is a function of air temperature. The warmer the air, the greater the capacity of the air to hold moisture. The capacity is in the denominator of the ratio, which makes the relative humidity total decrease. And we can see that here. So we have warmer air temperatures for this time of year, 41 degrees for a high. Well, for April, that might be a little on the cool side, but the point is, this is the warmer part of the day. So we're going to see our lower relative humidities. Right before the sun rises, around in this area here, we're at our lowest temperatures. Air temperature is closest to the dew point. And again, this is actually when we're most likely to see dew. You see dew in the early morning. You don't see it in the middle of the afternoon for this reason. The air has less of a capacity to hold water vapor. And when these numbers are close together, we have our high relative humidities. Now, I left the wind data on here for a reason. Today there's a high wind warning. We have a very windy atmosphere today. And there's a couple of things that we haven't quite talked about yet, but this would be a good opportunity to do so. These lines, these sticks coming off of the wind graph here, this represents surface wind patterns. They indicate the direction of wind flow, just like the station models that we looked at in your weather lab. And these arrows or lines, they're actually called feathers, indicate two things. They show the direction of the wind, again, where the wind is coming from. So in this portion of the graph, we're seeing a wind coming out of the northwest. The lines coming off the sides represent wind speed. That's something we'll talk about more in the future. But we can see we have high wind over here because there's many lines. There's 3 lines coming off the side of the feather. And then the wind lines start to decrease, meaning wind speed is dropping. So we have a high wind speed in the beginning, and then it begins to decline, and this wind is coming out of the northwest. So these show us the direction of the wind, but also give us a sense of the speed of the wind as well. Now, this dark blue over here represents gusts, and we only see this portion of the graph when there's high winds. So right now we're looking at high winds close to 50 miles per hour, very, very high winds for the morning, tapering off into the afternoon, evening. And then we see a reversal of the wind direction. So we've got winds coming out of the northwest, and then in a relatively short amount of time, the wind changes direction, and now the wind is coming out of the northeast and then out of the north. When we see this rapid change in wind direction, that indicates that a frontal system has moved through the area. We've had rain, we've had snow, we've had precipitation of some kind. And that's exactly what we're seeing in the data. Down here we've got a bar graph for rain, one for snow, and one for freezing rain. Doesn't look like there's any sleet in the forecast, but if there were, there'd be orange bars there. So right here indicates the passage of the front. I'm not looking at a synoptic weather map at the moment, but I would imagine it's probably a cold front, because we've got winds coming out of the northwest, then we've got this change in wind direction here, and now we have winds coming out of the north. So we're looking at a pretty cold week, unseasonably cold for the month of April, and we can see that reflected in the snow. Probably not an accumulating snow, or significantly accumulating snow. It's probably not going to do anything to road conditions and such, but it's interesting nonetheless. So when we see this rapid change in wind direction, that indicates the passage of a front. If we take a look at the forecast, and we can go back up here, this red box indicates a high wind warning. So we've got a high wind warning until 2 o'clock this afternoon. This is Sunday. I'm posting this video a day ahead. We had an interesting weather event, so I thought that would be useful for you. So we've got high wind warning today, and then a chance of snow tomorrow, with a little bit of wintry mix changing over to rain. Okay, so that's what we're looking at over the next 24 hours or so. And some very cold temperatures. Tuesday, a low of 19. Monday night, a low of 23. Okay, so some very cold air moving into the region. All right, so that's the situation for today. I intend to post another video about cloud formation, and I'll get that out to you shortly. Okay, so hope all is going well. Okay, remember, work hard, and good luck.